So, I have gotten a lot of questions regarding how did I learn to render, where did I learn to render, and other things regarding how I did some specific niche thing. And I have always answered those questions willingly because I don't believe in gatekeeping information. I believe that if people want to learn, then it is my duty to teach them. I don't believe in hoarding information for myself or any means. So I thought, why not just go ahead and create a video? Um, Kind of perhaps maybe helping people learn how to get better at rendering. Maybe they feel they're stuck, or maybe they just need that final, last piece of the puzzle to make their render great. So I'm making this super awkward video to show everyone some tips that I've learned, some assets that may help them, and other things that can help, right? So this is my last render. It's nothing very fancy, but I thought it'd be a good explanation. So I have this. It's just a bunny girl. Just want to make something cute and, sensual, flirty. So I have amassed my list of the top render crimes. So first thing I see is just, I feel like a lot of bodies end up being stiff. They don't feel very fluid. They don't feel very human. And this is just something that is something you have to learn on your own. And it's something that you're just going to get better at naturally as you go along. But that's one thing that I feel like bodies are stiff and there's not really very fluidity in it. Another thing that I see a lot is probably my biggest render pet peeve is people forget that gravity exists. So if your head's turned to the side, you'll have a chain and it'll just be a straight line parallel to the ground as if gravity doesn't exist. Or the hair, isn't properly like falling to the side, etc., etc. So that no post-processing. I see a lot of people that probably just render and then just post a raw render to Instagram and just call it quits right there. And then lastly, I feel like camera angles are kind of boring. They're just straight on shots. They're not really interesting, and so it doesn't create any like visual like dynamic with the subject in the foreground and everything like that. So I'm gonna go over some things that might help combat some of my top render crimes and what I think people could easily do to help make their renders, just stand out more and help people find out things that they can do just to learn more, I guess. So I have this render. So one of the things I'm going to talk about is your render settings. So I have this render. It's already posed, already done everything, blah, blah, right? You have it. One of the things is when you find your camera angle, know that if you find your camera angle, so like if you come down here and you like it, all you have to do is Shift-A Control and create a camera, and it'll create a camera at your desired angle, and then you're just gonna have to figure out where to place it, right? Because it's gonna spawn at your origin point, so you just figure out place it. But what you do is if you take, let me move my mic, if you take this window to the side and pull it out, I already had one. If you pull it out and make sure you do view camera to active camera, it'll show you what your camera sees. So if I move this, it's gonna move around, right? So that's one of the things that I think will help kind of visualize where your camera is, so you don't have to render every time. For general settings, always render in cycles. If you don't have as beefy of a PC, I would still recommend rendering in cycles because Eevee is just not going to get as high of a quality unless you just know how to work Eevee. Excuse me, and there's only one person that I know that can use Eevee and render it with it very good. So always render in cycles, and then always make sure that you're set on your rendering on your GPU. Another thing right here is I already did a crime, but for your viewport, which is where if you took this, if I took my thing and I went into the rendered view, it's only going to take 100 samples, so it's not going to lag my PC to death to sample this. For the render samples themselves, you only need a couple hundred max. You don't need 4,000. You really only need 200. And then I don't really mess with a lot of these settings. But another one that will help your colors just be more vibrant and pop more is if you go down to color management, make sure you have sRGB. It's on filmic and on very high contrast. And you notice it'll automatically just make your colors that much more, vibrant. That's one of them. And then you can play with gamma and exposure, but I usually just leave it alone for this part. For actual render settings, I personally just like to render in squares, just because I like squares. I don't know how to explain myself, I just do. But one of the things is you really do not need to render in 4K, especially if you're only going to post to Instagram. I did 2000 because I needed this for another project, but if you're only going to use your render to post to Instagram, the max you need to do is 1080, because Instagram is not going to preserve the quality over 1080. I think 1080p is the max of Instagram quality you can get. So if you got anything above that, you're just losing your quality. You're not gaining any more quality, and it's just taking you longer to render. And then I don't really mess with anything here. So we got our settings down. There's plenty more settings, but I'm not going to get into them. I think those are just some of the basics, bare minimum basics, that I think will help you get even further, right? So for asset-wise and things that can help you, pose-wise, Pinterest, all the way. I love Pinterest. I browse Pinterest on the daily. I have my own pinned board that has a lot of like render inspiration and other inspiration, but Pinterest, you can find a lot of good reference poses or just inspiration to help you kind of like decide of a cool artistic render or anything else you want to do. It is your playground. You can find some shit here. You not only have just kind of aesthetic pose, you can also get drawing references, which can kind of help you like move your body around when you're posing, right? So you have that. There is also this great Twitter called the Pose Archives that also do the same thing. They have a lot of different poses. Oops, there was boobies right there. There is not safe for work stuff in here, in the sense of just nudity, so beware of that. They also have a Patreon, a Gumroad, and a Ko-fi if you want to go further into that. So you have stuff for poses now. Next thing is scenes. So I think most everyone does is Kina scenes, which, don't get me wrong, they're great, but I feel like they're just incredibly overused. You see them everywhere, right? So another place you can get it is Sketchfab. You can find scenes on here, or you can find assets to create scenes. So if I want a tree, I can search up tree, make sure you hit downloadable, and Sketchfab is the best place to get free assets. So if you see this, it's free. If you see a money sign in the corner, then you have to pay for it. But I've used this one, I'm fairly certain. You can find so many scenes here, so many cool things. I live and breathe by Sketchfab. Another place that you can get assets is CG Trader. Now, most of the time, CG Trader, it's gonna be paid. There are free stuff on here, but most of the time it's paid a lot, but it's very much high quality. So I can find free trees on here, but you can find entire scenes here, and they're going to be extremely high quality, because for this is what game developers, this is their marketplace. So they're going to buy game ready content in here and import it to the game. So it is more expensive, but the quality is just unmatched, right? These are meant for AAA rated games. So FCG Trader. Another place is TurboSquid. Can I just find random ones? But I mostly stick to Sketchfab and CG Trader. So we have that. The next one is Blender Kit. This is a plugin for Blender. So if I go up here and I click down on here, I have a plugin for Blender, and I can pull out models, materials, scenes, HDRs, and then brushes. So this is my favorite thing to use, because I do not do my own lighting, pretty much. I completely just use HDRs because I think they look the best. It's pre-made lighting and they look great. So all I need to do is I need to just go up here, find one that I like, and then you just drag it into your scene and you're good to go. Now you'll have to, like, go in and find what you like and These are usually already mapped, so you can move them around as need be. But for the most part, that's what I used to like, because I just think it's much better and easier. So, BlenderCat, you can find mats, materials, props, and assets, scenes, but most scenes aren't free, they're paid, and then HDRs, which is what I mainly use for, materials and HDRs. So you have that. So now you have all your assets. Another random tip that I see people do: don't ever post from Instagram.com on your desktop. It's just not good, right? So here's a random one. It looks great on here, but I guarantee once you post to Instagram, it's going to look dookie. And I don't know what it is about posting from desktop Instagram, but it compresses the fuck out of your shit, and it's not gonna look good. So always post from your phone. Next thing, if I go with that, is you need to edit your pictures. And don't edit on your phone. That's another thing. If you edit on your phone, you're gonna tank the quality. So edit on your computer. What I do is I edit on my computer. I post it in my own little server. I have a server with just me, and I just post my images, and I download them from my phone and post them on Instagram. So, you have a lot of things that you can use. Adobe has their own online editing software. I've never really used it, but it's there if you want to try it. Though, if you don't like Adobe, you know, understandable. There's also other solutions. Photopea is a exact, I believe it's supposed to be a Photoshop like equivalent for just online, right? So if I open up an image, let's say this one, it pretty much looks a lot like Photoshop in how it's set up. And I have used this and edited this on this when I wasn't at my own computer, and it's okay. But for just simple edits, I think we'll be fine. So you have that, and then there's also Pixlr, which is what I personally used to use a long time ago before I had Photoshop. And it's okay. But the problem with it back in the day was that it used to tank quality, but I don't think it does anymore, though I have not used it, excuse me, in a long time, so I can't attest to this. And you might be saying, oh, well, you know, editing might not do that much, but I promise you it does a lot. So I have my own project. So we have 3 renders. This is one I did for Akira. This is the edited version, and this is the unedited version. It's not that much of a difference, but it is a difference. The colors are more vibrant, there's more lighting, there's more shadows, there's, you know, a little bit of an oil drip right here. You know, a little bit of changes that can go a long way. Then I have another one. This one might not look that much from the top, but there was a lot of editing done. So this is the raw render that he gave me. He asked me to, you know, do what I needed to do on it. And I went through and I added light rays, added bubbles, you know, made it more blue tone to kind of give it that vibe. And then here's one that I did with Roofski. It's one of my favorite renders that I've done. The fire itself in the background was completely done in Blender, but as you can tell, I added the smoke, the sparks, all of that stuff, right? Just to give it that bit more oomph. So editing can take a picture to the next level, so do not discredit it. And that's all I've got to say. I just blabbered on for 13 minutes. I'm really bad and awkward with this, but I just was hoping that maybe this could help someone along the way learn new things and just, I guess, be better. So if anyone ever has questions, you can always approach me and talk to me. I love to render, and I love teaching. So if you want to learn, I'm more than happy and willing to teach. And I hope that this has helped someone in some way. So thank you guys if you watched this whole entire thing. Thank you for listening to me blabber for 13 minutes. And I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your night, day, evening, whatever it is. Thank you.